Welcome back. You're still watching News and Views here on One News. The Healthy Cities Summit is underway in Paris, France, bringing together delegates to discuss ways to lower the incidence of non-communicable diseases. Jovi Francisco has the report.
The Healthy Cities Summit is underway in Paris, France. Delegates representing approximately 320 million residents in the partnership's 74 member cities are in attendance to share ideas that will lower incidence of non-communicable diseases. NCDs remain a global concern because 80% of all deaths can be traced to conditions like heart disease, respiratory diseases, cancer, diabetes, road accidents, and even drug overdose. Deaths that are preventable if only cities are healthier and its residents are less exposed to risk factors.
And we are thrilled to welcome 61 of 74 cities within the network.
The third summit of the Partnership for Healthy Cities is being held at a time when funding cuts are being felt in public health endeavors worldwide.
It is an extremely challenging time to be working on public health right now, and specifically NCDs and injuries. NCDs were already woefully under-resourced at the global level, and the latest round of cuts only makes things considerably worse.
But they believe this is an opportunity for everyone to soldier on.
There is a huge appetite for international collaboration, and one of the ways that we make our resources go farther is by sharing solutions and by not trying to reinvent the wheel.
An official of the World Health Organization remains optimistic that everyone will work harder despite the challenges.
We have very important public health objectives which haven't changed. So our approach is not going to change in terms of tackling, addressing health and working with many partners around the world.
Reporting from Paris, France, Jovi Francisco, we are One News.
In other news, Malacanang is working on guidelines to regulate social media amid a surge of fake news following former President Rodrigo Duterte's arrest. Palace Press Officer Attorney Claire Castro urged social media platforms and mainstream media to take responsibility in curbing disinformation. She noted that even the Supreme Court fell victim to fake news after a fabricated advisory about a petition to oust President Marcos spread online. Since the government handed Duterte over to the ICC last week, false information has flooded social media, including fake quotes attributed to prominent figures. Castro emphasized the need for a whole-of-nation approach to combat disinformation effectively.
Lahat po tayo ay dapat tulong-tulong para po maiwasan po natin, matanggal po natin ang lahat mga fake news. Yan po. Kaya kakailanganin po talaga namin ang tulong ng social media, ng mainstream media, para po masawata po natin ang mga kumakalat na ganitong klaseng fake news.
Senator Amy Marcos, Foreign Relations Committee has now started their hearing. Let's listen in.
Fellow Filipino, a leader, a father, a grandfather, a man who served this country, is taken not by his own people, but by outsiders who claim the right to judge him. Sabi nila, batas ang dapat manaig. Tama. But whose law? Ours or theirs? Since when did the Philippines become a province of The Hague? Kung kaya nilo itong gawin sa isang dating pangulo, sino na lang ang susunod? If they can march into our house and take one of our own, what stops them from doing it again and again? To you, to me, to any of us. What protection can we guarantee our OFWs eking out a living overseas? This is bigger than Duterte. This is about our dignity as Filipinos. Ngayon pa lang ito nangyari sa buong kasaysayan ng Pilipinas. Pero paano kung mauulit? Paano kung sa susunod, ibang Pilipino naman ang kinaladkad papalabas? The Senate will seek answers, and if there is indeed wrongdoing, we will make certain to put up safeguards so this never happens again. We are not here to fight, least of all, to fight each other. We are here to find the truth. Because a country that does not demand answers will always be at the mercy of those who dictate the questions. Ang hustisyang ipinapataw ng dayuhan ay hindi hustisya. ito ay pang-aalipin. Ito ay pagkontrol. At mga kababayan ko, hindi tayo alipin. Tayo ay Pilipino. At kung Pilipino ka, hindi mo kailanman isusuko ang iyong kapwang Pilipino. Hindi mo isusuko ang iyong pagiging Pilipino. We call on Senator Bongo, who also has a preliminary statement. Senator Bong, I think you're on mute. There we go.
Good day, Madam Chair, distinguished colleagues, to the resource persons present in this hearing. Ang pangunahing tanong ko po sa hearing na ito, paano at bakit tayo umabot sa ganitong sitwasyon? Meron naman tayong umiiral na hustisya sa bansa, meron naman tayong sariling mga batas at korte. Bakit pinayagan po ng gobyerno na nakipin po ang isang Pilipino sa sarili nating bayan? Sabi nga ng mga nakakarami, too late the hero. Kaya kung anuman ang lumabas sa hearing na ito, si dating Pangulong Duterte ay ngayon nasa The Hague na po, Netherlands na po. Ano bang pwede pang magawa? I respect the initiative of this committee to hold the Senate inquiry. Bagamat nirespeto natin ang pagdinig na ito, sinasabi ko rin po ang aking mga hinanakit na parang too late na po. Walang problema sa akin mag-hearing kahit araw-araw po. Pero tanong, may babalik niyo pa ba si Tatay Digong? Yan ang tinatawag ko na too late the hero na po. Useless lahat ng hearing na ito kung hindi na po may babalik si Tatay Digong. Kung kaya, pakiusap ko lang, kung kaya niyo po siyang dalhin doon, in less than 1 day, sa loob po ng 13 na oras, dapat kaya niyo rin po siyang ibalik dito sa lalong madaling panahon. Dahil nangungulila po ang Pilipino at hindi kayang tanggapin ang nangyari sa kanya. Bilang isang mambabatas, nandun ako sa NAIA nung lumapag ang eroplanong sinasakyan ni dating Pangulong Duterte. Hindi po ako pinayagang makapasok. Kasama ko po ang kanyang mga doktor dahil may scheduled medical check-up po siya sa March 12. You may check the records po. Importante, masiguro ang kanyang kalusugan dahil 80 years old na po ang dating Pangulo. Pero mukhang hindi ito naisaalang-alang po ng otoridad dahil hindi siya pinayagan na mapunta sa ospital. Hindi nadala ang kanyang mga medisina. Alam niyo po, ako ang nagpapadala ng medisina niya sa bahay niya. Linggo-linggo po yan. Dahil yan po ang pinangako ko sa kanya noon. Bagamat hindi na po siya nakikialam sa akin sa politika. Pero sa kanyang medical, ay yan ang pinangako ko sa kanya. Na hindi ko siya pababayaan habang buhay. 27 po ang kanyang gamot. Sana po'y maibigay rin ang kinakailangang gamot at medical attention sa kanya habang nasa ibang bansa. Dahil karapatan naman po ito ng bawat tao. Constitutional right po natin yan. Sanay po siya na merong nurse, sanay po siya na may doktor na nag-aasikaso sa kanya. Naikwento nga sa akin ni Atty. Mejaldea na noong unang bumisita siya sa detention cell ay nakapaa siya dahil hindi po na naipasok ang kanyang mga gamit. Alam niyo, hirap na nga siya mag-medyas. Hindi na niya kayang mag-medyas mag-isa. At ngayon, it took Atty. Mejaldea several days bago maipasok yung mga kagamitan na kailangan ni Tatay Digong. Mahirap talaga ang kanyang sitwasyon ngayon na nakadetain. Sa unang pagharap ni dating Pangulong Duterte sa ICC, napansin natin iba po ang kanyang pananalita. Marahil ito ang estado ng kanyang kalusugan. Sa totoo lang po, several times na po naobserbahan ko yan noon. Yung kanyang pananalita, ganun yan. Pag hindi po naibibigay sa kanya yung saktong medisina na dapat niyang inumin. Marami na pong karamdaman si Tatay Digong. Sino ba namang 80 years old na walang gamot na iniinom at walang karamdaman? Yun po ang aking kinakatakot sa ngayon, ang kanyang kalusugan at ang kanyang kaligtasan. Kaya hindi ko po maintindihan bakit hindi pinayagan ng mga pulis ang doktor na makita siya. Okay na po ako, hindi niyo po ako pinapasok. Ilang beses po akong nakiusap. Pwede ba akong pumasok, sumunod? Pinababa nga ako sa sasakyan eh. Hindi po ako pinapasok doon sa Villamor Air Base. Pero nakiusap po ako na unahin na lang po yung doktor niya at yung ambulansya. Lahat naman may constitutional right to seek medical attention when needed. Lahat ng Pilipino, dating presidente man o normal na mamamayan, lahat ay may karapatan na masiguro ang kalusugan at kaligtasan. Nakakalungkot na isang bagay na ating ipinaglaban para sa Pilipino, hindi maibibigay po sa dating Pangulo na minamahal ng marami. Ganyan ba po ang dapat na trato sa taong minahal ang bayan at minahal din ng taong bayan? Madam Chair, mataas po ang aking respeto sa kapulisan. Lalo na po sa mga babae, mataas po ang aking respeto sa kanila. Noong nakaraang administrasyon, nanumbalik ang respeto ng ating mga kababayan sa kapulisan. Taas noo po ang ating kapulisan, ang ating mga sundalo. As its highest ang respeto sa PNP. Inuna namin ang pagtaas ng sahod ng uniform personnel dahil alam namin kung ano ang sakripisyo ninyo para sa bayan. Ako mismo bilang SAP noon, ako po nangulit noon na may sakatuparan po ito dahil minahal namin ang kapulisan. Ngunit nakakalungkot, Madam Chair, na noong nandun ako sa NAIA, nakikita niyo naman po sa video, nagtanong lang po ako sa PNP spokesperson kung saan kami dapat pumunta. Dahil sabi ni Chief PNP Marbil sa 250 po. Nilapitan ko po ang inyong spokesperson at hindi po ako sinagot, tinakbuhan po ako. Sana naman bilang spokesperson, konting sagot lamang po. Konting respeto, sumusunod naman po kami sa batas. Hindi naman siguro dapat ipagkait sa atin ang respeto at higit sa lahat ang katotohanan. Sa totoo lamang po, ilang beses na po nagsinungaling si now Brigadier General Jean Pardo. Sana po, ma'am, bilang spokesperson, totoo lang po ang sabihin mo, alang-alang sa bayan. Your duty is to be loyal to our flag and to our country. Minahal namin kayo ni dating Pangulong Duterte. Sana, konting respeto lamang po. Kung nagawa niyo yan sa akin, magsinungaling, mas nagagawa niyo po yan sa ibang tao. Respeto lamang sana. Gaya ng pagrespeto at pagmamahal namin sa uniform personnel. Pangalawang beses na po ito na hindi ka sumagot ng totoo. Sa interview mo, sinabi mo nagpupunas lang ng pawis ang ilang pulis na nakuna ng video na umiiyak habang inaaresto si Pangulong Duterte. Mapigilan mo bang umiyak? Nasasaktan po yan. Doon lamang po tayo sa katotohanan at piliin nyo lang laging magsabi ng totoo alang-alang sa bayan. We must always entrust our loyalty to the Filipinos, to our flag, and to our country. Di naman po parating sinasabi ni dating Pangulong Duterte sa inyo. Just be loyal to our country and to our flag. Last, gusto nating malaman kung may nalabag ba na proseso ang pamahalaan, nabigyan ba po ng due process ang Pangulo dahil kung seryoso tayo sa pagbibigay ng hustisya, unang konsiderasyon dapat ang karapatang pantao at ang pagsunod sa due process. Sa totoo lamang po, hindi na po tatakbo si Tatay Digong sa inyo. Di na niya kayang tumakas at alam niyo po yun. Di na niya kaya kayong takbuhan dahil hirap na nga siyang maglakad, nagsusungkod na nga lang po siya. Imbis na umunlad, bigla tayong umurong. OFWs, pinapauwi natin. Noon, ginagawa natin ang paraan. In fact, si dating Pangulong Duterte, sumusulat yan sa mga king o sa leader ng ibang bansa para makauwi. And even nagre-raise tayo ng blood money para makauwi lang yung mga kababayan natin. Pero bakit baliktad niya yan? Bakit isinuko po ang sarili nating lahi? Hindi ko lubusang matanggap na siya ay nililiti sa ibang bansa gayong siya ay isang Pilipino. Samantalang mayroon naman tayong maayos na judicial system sa ating bansa na nirerespeto. Kasarinlan yan bilang isang bansa. May sarili tayong batas, may sarili tayong proseso, may sarili tayong korte at may kakayahan tayong panagutin ang sinumang nagkakasala sa ating bayan. Madam Chair, this is now a matter of principle, justice, and humanity. Hindi ba't may sarili tayong sistema ng hustisya? Kapag may Pilipinong nagkasala, dapat tayo po ang husga. We must protect our citizens and we must stand as one. Dagdag pa dito, Madam Chair, mula noon hanggang ngayon, naninindigan naman po si Solicitor General Minardo Guevara na walang jurisdiction ng ICC sa ating bansa. Kung consistent po ang gobyerno sa posisyon na ito na hindi kilalanin ang jurisdiction ng International Criminal Court, bakit hinayaan po nitong ma-implement ng warrant of arrest ang Interpol mula sa isang korte na hindi naman natin kinikilala? Kung wala naman talagang jurisdiction at may warrant of arrest ang Interpol o ICC, sana binigyan muna ng pagkakataon ng gobyerno through the proper authority like judicial court na i-verify o suriin ang validity ng arrest sa warrant. Ang issue na ito ay hindi lamang para kay Pangulong Duterte. Ito ay mahalagang usapin sa soberanya ng Pilipinas ang nakataya dito. Alang-alang sa ating mga bayaning nagbuwis ng buhay upang makamit lang ang ating kalayaan. Alang-alang sa ating ngayon na patuloy na inaalagaan ang ating soberanya upang ang ating mga anak at ang ating mga anak ay mamumuhay ng isang bansa na malaya at nirerespeto ng ibang bansa. Ang bawat Pilipino, mataas o mababa man ang katayuan sa buhay, dapat may gobyernong masasandalan na hindi siya pababayaan. Former president man o hindi, karapatan yan, lalo na po pagdating sa kanyang kalusugan, kaligtasan at buhay. Sa huli, bagamat andon si Tatay Digong na buong tapang na hinaharap ang kasong isinampa sa kanya, tulad ng kanyang paulit-ulit na ipinangako, napakasakit po sa dibdib na pagkatapos niya isakripisyo ang kanyang sarili para sa kinabukasan ng ating mga anak at ng bawat Pilipino, ni isang Pilipino ay hindi huhusga sa kanya. Imbis na ibigay sa Pilipino ang paghusga sa mga ginawa ni dating Pangulong Duterte na paglaban sa droga at kriminalidad, sadly, hindi po ganun ang nangyari. Sabi ko nga, para sa akin, Pilipino po ang dapat humusga sa totoong sitwasyon sa bansa. Kung mas nakakalakad na po ba ang ating mga anak noong panahon niya, hindi po nasasaktan, hindi nababastos. Kayo po ang humusga. Pilipino po ang dapat humusga. Minahal tayo ni Tatay Digong. Ginawa niya po ang lahat para sa bayan. Tanda na po siya. Ayaw na nga niyang tumakbong presidente. Pero ginawa niya po ito dahil yan po ang kanyang sinumpaang tungkulin para sa mga kababayan natin Pilipino. Pero ngayon, hindi lang si Tatay Digong ang inialay at ipinamigay ng ating sariling kababayan. Mistur lang inialay at ipinamigay din ito ang karapatan ng Pilipino na husgahan ang ating sariling kababayan at magdesisyon kung ano ang mas makakabuti sa ating bayan. As I said, March 11 was indeed the saddest day in our history. Sana po, hindi na po ito maulit. Marami pong nasaktan na Pilipino. Salamat po.
Maraming salamat sa aking kasama, Senator Bongo. We assure you that this is no time for heroics. We are determined to get the truth. We now call on Senator Jinggoy Estrada, who has manifested his desire to make a preliminary statement.
Madam Chair, I wish to waive my opening statement in order to expedite the hearing. But if you will allow me to fire the first salvo, it will be very much appreciated, Madam Chair.
Kung maaari, siguro umpisahan na lang natin kasi medyo komplikado yung ating proseso. Umpisahan muna natin yung order, ano? Tapos kung pwede, sumabat na lang kayo, kikilalanin kita kaagad-agad.
Yes, Madam Chair.
Maraming salamat. Okay, at this juncture, I call on the committee secretary to administer the oath to our resource persons.
Kindly stand and raise your right hand and repeat after me. Okay. I state your name. Do solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in this proceeding. Thank you. You may now sit.
Yes, marami pong salamat. Napakaraming cabinet member po rito, mga secretary, mga napakatataas na mga opisyal ng ating pamahalaan. Can we say that as secretaries and high government officials, you are the alter egos of the President, particularly those in the cabinet? Tama po ba yun?
That is correct.
Thank you. And as you are all in the executive branch, can we say you are bound by the words and statements of the President?
Yes, Madam President, as we are bound to by executive privilege for the President.
Thank you. May I recall a clip derived from 18 February 2023, President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. said the following, and the clip is here.
Oo, hindi, at bak. Papayagan ko sila dito, pero magturista lang sila.
I'm sorry, this seems to be an earlier statement, 2022.
Pagkaunawa ko sa ICC, the ICC is there pagka walang judiciary na nag-ooperate sa isang bansa. Dahil nagkagera, dahil nasira lahat, the economy has collapsed, etc., for whatever reason. Diyan papasok ang ICC. We have a functioning judiciary. And that's why I do not see the need for a foreigner to come and do the job for us, to do the job for our judicial system. Our judicial system is perfectly capable of doing that. And it also raises a great many questions about jurisdiction and sovereignty. What is their jurisdiction to come here into the Philippines and conduct an investigation? Is that not a violation of our rights as a sovereign nation in the community of nations? Those questions need to be answered before they can be allowed any investigation.
Senator Bongbong, maraming salamat.
Oh my, that went very quickly. Maraming
salamat. Thank you for your time. God bless you.
No. You have misread it. We do not cooperate with the ICC. That is the position of this government.
Pero sa niread notice po ng Interpol, we will be obliged to participate.
As Secretary Remulla explained before, we have obligations to Interpol, and we have to live up to those obligations.
And therefore, the next step,
Okay, let me say this for the 100th time. I do not recognize the jurisdiction of ICC in the Philippines. I consider it as a threat to our sovereignty. Therefore, the Philippine government will not lift a finger to help any investigation that the ICC conducts. However, as ordinary people, they can come and visit the Philippines. Pero hindi kami tutulong sa kanila. In fact, binabantayan namin sila, making sure that hindi sila that they do not come into contact with any agency of government. And if they are contacting agencies of government, na sasabihin yung whatever, policeman, local government, sabihin nyo, wag nyo sasagutin. Yun ang sagot natin, that we do not recognize your jurisdiction, therefore we will not assist in any way, shape, or form any of the investigations that the ICC is doing here in the Philippines.
Okay, thank you, sir.
That's it? All right.
Okay. On the 18th of February, the President said, my position has not changed. I have stated it often, even before I took office as President, that there are many questions about ICC's jurisdiction and that we here in the Philippines regard as an intrusion into our internal matters and a threat to our sovereignty. Does the DFA agree with this statement? And do we abide by this position until today? Anyone from the DFA, please?
Madam Chair, good morning.
Yes, you recognize USEC.
Yes, thank you. Well, as I speak right now, the Philippines is not a member of the ICC. And the DFA defers to the Department of Justice as the implementing agency when it comes to cooperation on ICC matters. Madam Chair.
Yes, so to the best of your knowledge and in the consideration of the DFA, we are not a member of the ICC.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. And the DOJ, having been referred to, may I call on Secretary Remulla, please, to clarify this issue.
We are not members of the ICC, ma'am. So whatever relationship we have with the ICC is on an arm's length basis if we have to talk to them, but we have never spoken to them.
I'm sorry, Secretary, I didn't hear you. Whatever relationship we have
is on an arm's length basis, meaning very transparent if ever, but we have never spoken to them.
Arm's length?
Yes, ma'am.
So you have had contact even at arm's length?
We do not have any contact. What we're saying is we are very transparent about what we do, and we have never had any contact with the ICC.
So you uphold the statement of the President saying that the ICC has no jurisdiction here in the Philippines. Is that correct?
Ma'am, jurisdiction of the ICC is throughout the world. We belong to a community of nations that is tied together by a legal system called international humanitarian law. It is something adopted by more than 150 countries in the world. International humanitarian law, which became a law in 2009 or 2010. And that law, that domestic law, is what we adhere to in this case.
Are you referring to RA 9851?
Yes, ma'am.
Because you indicated the date of 2009, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. So therefore, we are not members of the ICC.
We are not members of the ICC since President Duterte withdrew our membership in 2018, effective 2019.
Okay. That being the position of the DILG, I assume that Secretary Remulla in the DILG also maintains the same.
Yes, ma'am. I defer to the wisdom of the Department of Justice.
And the PNP, General Marbil, please.
We have just witnessed the ongoing probe on the arrest of former President Rodrigo Duterte, who is now in the detention center of the International Criminal Court. This Senate hearing aims to address certain issues, diba? Like the involvement of International Criminal Court, Interpol, and other various agencies on the arrest.
Yeah, but in the meantime, don't go away because we're not done yet. Please stay with us. Welcome back. You're still watching News and Views here on the One News. Let's take you back to the hearing.
Humanitarian law, is that correct?
All right. Also, as we were discussing earlier before
we had preliminary statements from Senator Bongo and Senator Amy Marcos, with Senator Estrada deferring his statement to get the committee hearing started already. And the first question was thrown to the DFA. Nag-defer sila to the DOJ, and then sumagot si Secretary Remulla, citing yung RA 9851, Section 17.
And again, as I've discussed earlier, this Senate hearing on foreign relations headed by its chair committee, Senator Amy Marcos, has said na ito ay, ang aim nila dito is to focus on three things. Number one, involvement of International Criminal Court, Interpol and other agencies.
Yes, correct.
Agencies that were involved nga doon sa arrest kay FPRRD. Second would be kung nabigyan nga siya ng due process si Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte. And pangatlo, in other matters that will help them in aid of legislation.
In aid of legislation, as all the...
And we've also heard Senator Bongo, which is also a member of the Senate Committee on Foreign Relations.
Medyo impassioned yung speech ni Senator Bongo, pero medyo lumihis siya sa, at times sa issues kasi nadala siya ng emosyon.
Yes.
Talking about
actually, this is his kumbaga statement before pa, I mean yesterday, no, yung sinasabi nga niya na this hearing, well, it is appreciated, pero parang sabi niya, huli na ang lahat. Too late.
Hindi, I mean this hearing, when a Senate or a lower house conducts a hearing, it's not really anyway to rescue somebody from detention or whatever. It's just in aid of legislation. In other words, para hindi na mangyari ito, ano bang safeguards sa Constitution o sa batas, pwede natin gawin para hindi na tayo nagkakalituan ng ganito. In other words,
kasi,
supposedly, if it's in aid of legislation, ang goal is, kung mangyari ito, wala namang challenge. Wala nang gulo. Kasi alam natin...
Unprecedented.
Oo, unprecedented.
Okay.
Alright, well, that wraps up today's episode of News and Views.
Join us again tomorrow. I'm Angela Labunsad Castro.
I'm Angelo Castro III. We are One News.
All sides, all the time.